Baton Rouge, Baton Rouge. I'm gonna get me some alligator shoes.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Alligator Shoes. I'm your host, Michael Hackett. Welcome, everybody. Today, we have a really special guest and a good friend, and I'm honestly a fan more than anything, and it's Matt Moscona of After Further Review, 104.5 ESPN Radio right here in Baton Rouge, and a lot of other stuff that we're going to dive into. Matt, welcome, man. Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
You know, you and I have known each other. I was trying to think back. It's been like 12 to 15 years because we met because of you had a dog named Turkey. And I'll never forget that. Yeah. You were a customer of mine back in the day.
To be very clear, Turkey, the 17-year-old Maltese, Rip, was my wife's dog. Okay. We got married, and we were a blended dog family. I had two boxers. She had Turkey. And yes, Turkey was cared for by your great staff for a long time. And I had the fortune of bringing Turkey by.
So that's how we met.
The 7-pound, 17-year-old Maltese that thought she ruled the world.
So back in my previous life, I could always tell like how cool the people were by what they named their dog. I was like, because my wife and I, we have a dog named Doug, a cat named Michelle.
You want people names.
And another dog named Ben.
Okay.
So we're all people. And so when I would see like a cool name like Turk, is like, I got to meet this guy.
Well, Turkey predated me.
Okay. Well,
so Erica, my wife, always wanted a Maltese named Turkey. I had two boxers, but all of our dogs are gone now. But I had Valley and Maggie. They were boxers, and their papers were LSU's Death Valley.
Love it.
And LSU's Broad Magnolia is in the line it's Maggie was in the line of the alma mater.
Oh, that's cool.
I always find it funny when people accuse me of being a hater, an LSU hater. I'm like, you have no idea how deeply rooted my love for LSU is. I just, my job is to give honest opinions, and it's served me well. But yes, deep love for LSU, and it's touched basically every part of my life.
Yeah, well, you can tell. I really want to dive into you personally. We talked outside a little bit. We're going to stay away from everything going on and learn about Matt Moscona and kind of, how you got into what you're doing, what you're doing. It's not just After Further Review. There's a lot of stuff I want to kind of dive into about what you're doing out in our city and how you're helping. But tell us just where you grew up, how you got here. I mean, bring us back.
The origin story.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my whole family's from New Orleans, right? From both mom and dad's side, from the boat to New Orleans forever. I was born, me and my brother and sister were all born in New Orleans. Lived there till I was 7. So it was 1989. My dad got a job in Baton Rouge at Lamar Advertising. Great. He was their corporate attorney for about 20 years in 2 different stints. But very fortunate for Lamar that they were great to my family and my dad for a lot of years. I got to do a lot of cool stuff too. Sure. I mean, as a young person, there were a lot of times where I find myself like on the Lamar plane going to the 2001 SEC championship game. I mean, I was an idiot. I had no business being it, but but it was really it was wonderful.
They're just good people.
Yeah, amazing. Yes. So I went to Catholic High in Baton Rouge. I think most people know, as I yell about it all the time. I'm very proud of having been there. Love my experience at Catholic, and it's a great community of alums and I still stay very involved in the school. Right. I always thought I wanted to leave for college, and so I did. My freshman year, I went to Holy Cross in South Bend, Indiana. It's the same place Rudy went, for everybody who's seen the movie. Right. My thought was go there for a year, transfer into Notre Dame. Turns out I hated it. I always say it was the F's and the W's, the football, the food, the women, and the weather. Not necessarily in that order.
Right.
And so I after a year, transferred back to LSU is the best decision I made. Right. I loved being a student at LSU. I graduated from the Manship School in Mass Comm. I made lifelong friends there, and I have deep appreciation for Louisiana State University. Not like I love the sports teams like everybody does, but like I love LSU, and I want LSU to thrive and be great in everything. Mm-hmm. So, started my radio career while I was still a student at LSU, and kind of stumbled into sports in 2007, started radio in 2003, did news for about 4 years, stumbled into sports in 2007 and never left.
Okay. I'm trying to think when I started listening to you. I want to say, were you with Condon back in the day? That was, what year was that?
So that's what a lot of people will say that they're first familiar with me. There was a station in town. It was the Score 1210 a.m.
Yes.
And it was an AM sports lineup, and I would produce in the midday on Buddy Sanji's show from noon to 3. Then Josh Ennis and I hosted a 1-hour show from 3 to 4, and then I produced for Condon from 4 to 6. So I was basically part of that lineup from noon to 6 every day. But my radio career, I'm always flattered when people say, I remember you from WIBR. Because I was a kid. I was still in school. And one of the pieces of advice that I always give students or young people that are ambitious or trying to pursue a career in media is, like, you need to bother people. Like, you need to go ask. And it's so competitive to get your foot in the door. And I knew when I was a student at LSU that I wanted to do media. I didn't know specifically what. And in May of 2003, I ended up speaking to Rebecca Breeding, who was the general manager of what was then Citadel, now Cumulus Broadcasting. And looking back on it now, the GM of that radio cluster had no business like sitting down and spending an hour of her time talking to me. I was a college student,
Right.
But I'm forever grateful because she took that meeting and she told me something I'll never forget, and I try to pay forward as well. She said, we're not really hiring, we don't have anything, but as a manager, I've always believed you find a way to keep good people. And so I'm going to find something for you to do. And so she hired me as a part-time promotions intern. And cleaned out the prize closet, changed light bulbs in the building. One of our stations was B103. It was like continuous off favorites of today and yesterday. The all-new B103. Like Celine Dion, The Heart Will Go On, stuff like that. And they had a mascot, which was Buzzy the Bee. And so when they did promotions hits, like somebody had to dress up like the bee.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so like a lot of my origin story was me dressing up in a bee costume and board hopping Saturday morning dog show remotes, but it was just anything to get your foot in the door. And when you worked really hard, that beget better opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And the news talk stage, I always wanted to do news. I can talk more about that, but not sports. And the news talk station, WIBR, hired Ed Buggs. Might remember, longtime newsman in Baton Rouge.
Great.
Still, I would say the most talented person I've ever worked with. And they needed a producer for Ed's show, so they gave me that opportunity. And I produced Ed's show for 4 years. And I learned more. I learned more just sitting there watching him work every day for 4 hours a day over those 4 years. Then it was the best education I could have gotten.
How old were you at the time?
I was hired. I was 20. So I did that from 2020, May of 23, just before I turned 21, until May of 07. And I always thought I would do news. That was always my ambition. I love sports, but I thought sports as a career was trivial. I went to school. The 9/11 attacks happened while I was at LSU, and when you're in journalism school, you're very altruistic and you think you're going to change the world. And I'm not poo-pooing that in any way, but that was my thought and ambition. And the truth is, Michael, like I grew to really, really detest it. And a lot of the reasons still today that I avoid news and politics as much as possible, because it's so contentious. Generally, there's so little appetite from people to find common ground and have civil conversation. And that's annoying to me. Not everything needs to be black or white or red or blue. Like there's tons of gray in our world.
Absolutely.
And if we spent more time focusing on our commonalities, on what we have in common, and that's true in politics and in race and in religion and everything, in sports, like we'd all be happier people. Yeah. And I just hated the culture around it and was looking for an escape hatch. And so I'd accepted a job in Atlanta to work at a Catholic radio station in a school. This was in spring of 07.
Wow.
Job fell through, needed work. Matt Kennedy, who was the program, many people who remember Baton Rouge Radio was on JBO for WJBO for a long time. Matt Kennedy was also the program director at the Score, 1210, knew of me, needed a board operator, called me, and I had nothing else going on. So I was hired as a part-time board operator at the sports station. And the rest, as they say, is history, I guess. So that's how I got into sports. The first year I did sports was 2007. Of course, LSU won a national championship. So that's a
pretty good luck.
It's a pretty good entree into the medium whenever the first year you're in it, the team you love wins a national championship. So
pretty good.
Got hooked, yeah.
I'd love to go back to your days at Calicut, and I love the fact that you're so proud of your school. We kind of talked about, I'm an Episcopal grad, and I feel the same way about Episcopal, and I love the fact that you wear that on your sleeve. Like we've had Brian Hightower was here from Calicut. We also had my friend Russell Mosley, and his son Russell was an Episcopal grad, but his son was a Calicut grad. And I love talking about pride for your high school in Baton Rouge. Tell me about your time there. Like, did you play sports? I'm sure you did. Like, what was it like growing up literally at Calicut School that you're so proud of?
So I played football for Coach Weiner.
Okay.
And it's interesting too because whenever, as a kid, my brother was a year ahead of me and he went to Catholic actually for the 8th grade. So he was there for 2 years before I went. And so we went to a lot of the football games and stuff like that, which as a young kid, you can get wide-eyed and see that and think it's the biggest thing in the world, which is very, very cool. But, Coach Weiner was already so established as like a legendary coach when I played for him. And that's been 25 years, 30 years when I started there. But I knew it really bothered me whenever there were some students, this would be true anyway, I'm sure it was at Episcopal too, but there's some students who reject the discipline and the structure. I, even at a young age, had a great appreciation for it. I knew it was making us all better. Like I knew why the brothers had their rules. I knew why we couldn't have our hair, not that I have a problem now, but why our hair couldn't touch the eyebrows, the collar of our shirt. Like why they expected you to tuck in your shirt and have your belt showing. Like it was establishing good habits and discipline and structure and things that you'd carry into every phase of your life, for how you studied, for how you work, for how you parent eventually in life. And I understood it then, and I also knew the sacrifices my parents made. Like we did not grow up a wealthy family with a lot of means. We weren't, there were times I'm sure my parents would tell you as I look back, maybe there were times that weren't great, but like we weren't poor,
right?
But my parents sacrificed a ton to send me and my brother to Catholic and my sister to St. Joe's because it meant a lot to them to have us have a holistic Catholic education. And I appreciated so much their sacrifice that I was going to maximize that opportunity. Like I knew going there was presenting me a great opportunity, and it would be unfair of me to not make the most of the sacrifice, take advantage of the sacrifice my parents were making to send us there. And there was so much love and care from the administration, from the faculty that wanted us to succeed. I mean, I still have relationships to this day with some of my teachers. Nancy Heron was my English teacher for 2 years. We still have a great relationship to this day when I go back to the school. Dr. Eldringhoff, who's the principal, was her religion teacher back in the day. Mr. Messina, Brad Messina, who's still in the faculty now. One of my classmates, Ben DePalma, is the advancement director. So I've got J.P. Kelly, who was my offensive line coach, has been, he's no longer at the school, his first year not there, but he was part of the faculty administration for several decades. I just, it's an amazing place where they say it's more than 4, it's a lifetime, and they mean it. Like there's a reason why alums come back and want to be involved, because it's an incredible place and culture that continues to give back, and people continue to give back to it as well. Yeah. Like I'll never have a son go to Catholic. I have a son, but he's a special needs kiddo. He'll never get to go there, and I still give and contribute financially in every way I can to the school, because I would love to pay it forward for future generations who get to go there.
Yeah. I've heard that story of people sitting there. Aren't we so fortunate that our parents were able to sacrifice and make those decisions for us, where other people in our community don't have that. And it's I love hearing that when people just have gratitude and like you take advantage of the things you've been offered in life, and hopefully you can pay it forward in other ways, which is what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's so wonderful to hear. I'd like to jump ahead a little bit. Like you mentioned Stephanie and Ed Buggs. Who else in Baton Rouge media at the time were you just like wide-eyed?
Yeah.
Baton Rouge, and you're like, I want to be that person. Was there anybody that really just grabbed you?
I can't say that I said I want to be that person, but a dear friend of mine still to this day is Richard Condon.
Oh, yeah.
And I know Condon's a lightning rod, and he's a sweetheart
he's great.
in life and on air. He's very polarizing. Yeah. But like from the time I was young, I'd watch Condon on 33 on the NFL Sundays, do the halftime updates, and I listened to him on 100.7 The Tiger with Condon and LeBlanc. And at the time that I got hired at WIBR, when Rebecca Breeding hired me, Condon and Bender were the morning show on Rock 93.7. Yes. So the WIBR studio and the Rock 93.7 studio shared a wall. And it was so interesting too, because it was the way that building was configured. There were 4 radio stations, or 5 radio stations, but it was like a fishbowl. Like, you walked, it was circular, and all the studios had glass windows where if you're walking through the semicircle, you're looking into the glass of the studio. And when Condon and Bender were on in 93.7, they had a purple curtain that they pulled and covered so nobody could see in the studio. And so it was an air of mystery around it. But I can remember meeting Richard for the first time and being a little starstruck, which is amazing now because like Richard's been a great friend of mine for years. He's literally asked me to eulogize him. Like that's not a joke. Like he has asked me when he dies to do his eulogy. So we're great friends. But Condon is one that has mastered the performance art of radio, and understanding that it is a show and you have to entertain people and you have to have opinions. It's not to say that you have to be intentionally bombastic or kicking the anthill just to do it, but performing and being entertaining is part of the business that we do. Yeah. And his style and mine are very different, but so I can't say I want to be Richard, but I appreciate very much who he is and what he's been for media in this town for a long time.
Yeah. Well, fast forward a little bit to after further review. When did you start?
Yeah, so I mentioned the show that I did with Josh Innes at the Score 1210. So we did a 1-hour show called The Fastest Hour. It was weird. It was a weird 1-hour programming gap where they were local, and then Condon didn't start till 4, and Buddy Sanji ended at 3. And so it's like, do you go to a national show for an hour? And so Matt Kennedy, I guess, very quickly realized like I had some chops, and he's like, do you want to do a 1-hour show? I was like, not doing anything else, sure. Right. So he paired me and Josh Innes at the time, and we did that 1-hour show. And Josh took a job in Houston after about a year, and so I was doing that show solo. And in late 2009, Guarantee Media, the ESPN affiliation, radio affiliation, came up, and Guarantee contracted with ESPN for the affiliate rights, and we're launching a sports station. And Gordy Rush reached out to me, who I didn't know at the time, told me they were planning on launching an ESPN affiliate, and asked me if I was interested in hosting the afternoon show. So I mean, that's how I jumped. So in January of 2010, I started at Guarantee. It was so interesting though to tell you how I was 27 at the time. Wow. So I've grown up on air.
Right.
From
literally
a 27-year-old unmarried to married and a son, and I'm 43 now, but I've done this job for 15 years on AFR. But it's so interesting to tell you how little they thought of what the possibilities were, because sports has always been a very niche format. It's not generally a ratings winner. What we've done over 15 years has been pretty remarkable. But they put me on from 3 to 5 instead of 3 to 6 initially, because they were considering putting a news talk show on ESPN Baton Rouge from 5 to 7.
Really?
Yeah. Which is so comical to think at 5 o'clock is drive time. Like it's changed a lot now in the digital era, but 5 o'clock hour is the most listened to hour of talk radio a day.
Especially in Baton Rouge traffic.
And I was going off air at 5. Right. And I think after the first few months, they quickly realized, like, this is going to work. And he can do a third hour.
Right.
Let's make him do a third hour. So we did. And initially, the station is 104.5 and 104.9 FM, and it was 104 the X. It was that one format on the two signals. Well, they kept 104.9 as the X. So we were just 104.5 FM, one low power 5,000 watt FM station. And really, if you get Gordy Rush on here, I think he'd tell you candidly, I think their expectation was, having the LSU contract, which Guarantee's had since 1998, they have to clear football, men's and women's basketball, baseball, softball, and all the coaches shows. So it's a ton of inventory you have to clear. And so what was happening is you're playing softball, for example, on 104 the X. So you'd be going from like Disturbed, Down with the Sickness to this is LSU softball. Right. It was conflicting with the music formats. And so it was like, well, if we have an ESPN affiliate, we can clear some of the LSU inventory, hire a young guy for no money and put him on in the afternoon. And if he does anything, great, whatever. But it'll free up the music formats. I mean, that was the thinking. And they just hired the right guy, because what they didn't know is that I was going to absolutely grind my face off to make sure that this was the best thing in the world.
Go back to that. You mentioned you had that 1 hour by yourself when Ennis moved to Houston.
Houston, yeah.
What was that like? I mean, were you were young? Mm-hmm. How did you handle that? Were you ready to roll? I mean, you had this in you, obviously, but
I'll go back to when I worked with Ed Buggs. When Ed would take vacation, I would host his show for him.
Okay.
And that was a 4-hour show. Oh. So an hour is a blink.
Right.
And the way people always say, I can't believe you talk for 3 hours. I never look at it as I talk for 3 hours a day. My show is 12 talk segments of 10 to 12 minutes. Okay. So it's like, can I come up with 12 things in the day to talk about for 10 minutes? I could talk about that book I could do a 3-hour show on that book if I needed to.
Right.
Like, just because of the way you structure things. So I understand how to structure a show. Mm-hmm. So the hour was no big deal whatsoever. And there's also the other part of it, which is you always leave your audience wanting more. What I wanted to do, Michael, like sports radio for so long as a format, quite honestly, was lazy. It's open the phones, take calls from the same 5 people with fake names, and that just doesn't have broad mass appeal. It doesn't. And the medium has changed so much, and my intention was, I'm going to have thoughtful conversation. I'm going to work hard to book good guests. Like every game LSU played, and this is even when I was doing that 1 hour show, I was hustling to try to book the opponent's head coach. I mean, as a 24-year-old doing a 1 hour show on an AM station in Baton Rouge, LSU's playing Ole Miss, and I got Houston Nutt on the show.
Yeah.
That week. That's not that that's like the grandest thing, but it's something nobody else was doing. And so,
and it takes some guts.
Well, it's. I mean, what's he going to do? Say no?
Well,
I mean, it's the power of the
But not
ask.
everybody has that. But you have it in
you can't be afraid of no.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true for anything. If you do sales, I mean, we all sell in some respect.
Absolutely.
We sell our business, our product, ourselves. For me, it's I sell myself my credibility every day. But I can't be afraid of somebody telling me no. So you ask. And so I wanted to do, I didn't care what anybody thought about me, or if they thought, you think you're too big for your britches. But I wanted to do a good show.
Right.
I wanted to have the best guests on and give great commentary and have produced segments and things that I thought out before, and go back to the point, to entertain the audience and give them an option that showed, oh, he's actually putting effort into this thing.
Right.
So that was my approach, and it obviously got Guarantee's attention. That's why they hired me. And they said, like, I remember meeting with Charles Hannegriff, who was working at Guarantee at the time for a long time, hosting pre and post and he was the program director at the time of ESPN Baton Rouge. And he said, that's exactly the style of the show we want. We want good guests, we want good commentary, we want thoughtful segment ideas. Like, that's what they wanted. And the idea was we were never going to take phone calls. Because the reality is there's market data that shows only 2% of your audience will ever call. I mean, dog cussed at mama. Only 2% will ever call. So my idea has always been, I'm not worried about the 2%. I'm worried about the 98% that will never call, and what do they want to hear? Right. So I don't care if the 2% that are vocal are pissed at me. I'll put my head on the pillow at night and be fine.
Sure.
I can block you. I can put up a wall on my life. If you're on the other side of the wall, you don't exist. Right. I know not everybody can do that, but I'm good with negativity and criticism. I hear plenty of positive stuff too that most people don't. Yeah. But I just made that my intention from the very beginning, and that started at 12:10.
Yeah, it's amazing what if we can brag on Guarantee for a second. I mean, like y'all's lineup and the guy. I mean, y'all are. It's a cool group of dudes over there and gals.
Yeah,
I mean, really, with Flynn and Gordy and you and y'all have put together. Like, I mean, I'm in my car a lot, and that's all I listen to.
Well, thank you.
I mean, like, and I'm being serious. Like, even if like the top, it could be the middle of summer, I'm still listening just because it's just habit for me.
Well, I love to hear that. I mean, that's especially as the program director of the station now. I love to hear that. But we've built a great lineup, and I think every show on our daily lineup is different.
Yeah.
Even when it was, even if we go back and start, after further review, my show was the only local show on the lineup for a long time. And then we added a morning show with, at the time, Derek Panamsky and Jordy Collada. And we had middays with Hannegriff, Ott, and Panamsky for a minute. Then the morning show came. I should correct that. And it's just continued. We've continued to evolve and build as the station's grown, and there's become more hunger for our content. And the lineup has evolved. We added Jake Hester. In 2018, when he finished playing, he was doing evenings in Shreveport, and we hired him, and he was doing 6 to 8 initially after my show weekdays, and then he bumped up to the middays, and now he's doing mornings. So it's been an evolution. But I'll tell you, like, I'm the outlier. Like, it's such a transient business, and people don't stay. People market hop. They get better opportunities. They just want to do something else. Like, to stay in one job for the 15 years I've been, like, that's not common. So, and I ain't leaving, but I think I'd recognize how fortunate I am to be there. But the lineup has evolved, and I think we've got a great balance of a diverse group of people and points of view, from former players, young, old. I think we're at a really good cadence right now.
Well, that's I'm glad you mentioned that. It's a perfect segue into what this podcast is about. It's about Baton Rouge. It's about staying, coming back, embracing where you're from. Yesterday, I was listening to you, and you had Peter Burns on, and Peter, West Baton Rouge guy.
Yeah.
So I'd love to have him on, Peter.
We can make that happen.
Yeah. And so he obviously loves Baton Rouge, and I was listening yesterday, and I'm kind of glad you said it, because I feel like I can say it out loud right now, was that you've been offered other places. You've been offered huge markets because you are so successful at what you do, and you're so good at it, and people from all over the country call you, especially what's going on now. They're calling you to get your opinion, and you've chosen to stay here. And I mean, I get chill bumps telling you that because I love this city. Tell me your thought process on why, how, like, you mentioned grit several times. Like, this is a gritty place. Just walk me through that process on how you stay true to your roots.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, if we would rewind the clock to the start of my career, certainly I never would have expected to stay in Baton Rouge. And I love Baton Rouge. It's home. I left once and came back.
Sure.
But the way, this is an analogy sports fans will get, the way you advance generally in media is you market hop like a coach. You go from being like the GA, then you get like the position coach job at the small school, then you get like maybe the position coach job at the big school, but then you get the coordinator job at the small school, and then you get the small school coaching opportunity, then the mid-school coaching opportunity, then it's an evolution, and it's similar in media or it has been traditionally similar in media, to where if you want to advance, you market hop. You go from Baton Rouge, market 80, and maybe then you're in like New Orleans, and then maybe you move to like an Atlanta or a Houston, and or an Austin, a Nashville. And then maybe you get your top 10 market opportunity or a network opportunity, something like that. That's typically how it goes. So you have to have a willingness to want to jump. And I when I was younger, certainly I was willing to do that. But like most people, you get married and you have a family, and then you make decisions that aren't so self-centered. And, my wife is from Baton Rouge. I'm from Baton Rouge. We have a son who, was born with a lot of really severe special needs. It was a long journey with him. We actually had to relocate to Houston. He was born at Texas Children's Hospital, and we spent 9 months with him in the hospital. And that was such an incredible experience for so many reasons. But, the support we received from Baton Rouge during that was incredible. There's still, my son Drew's 11 now. And there's not a day of my life that goes by that without someone asking me, how's Drew? Strangers, total strangers. The number of times that I would get mail to the hospital from total strangers, cards, checks in the mail from total strangers. Spent a lot of nights just writing thank you notes to strangers to mail back to them for the support they showed us. When you go through something like that, your world stops. Like, I lived in a hospital for 9 months in a different city. The rest of the world keeps going on. People get up and go to work and they have their families and their lives. Our world stopped. And you don't know if, I don't want to say people care, but you don't know what's going on in the outside world.
Sure.
And then I continued doing my show from Houston during that time.
I remember, yeah.
Which was a great reprieve for me, actually, to be able to take the time each day and step away and force myself to do something different. But, I had people tell me, you don't realize it now, but your son belongs to Baton Rouge, and I get it. Over the decade plus now, I get it, because still to this day, people ask about him all the time, and this community uplifted us so much. Why would I never leave? I'd say I would never leave, but why? I would never leave guarantee for another job anywhere here. I mean, it would have to be a massive thing to get me away, but. I missed 50 shows. I think we tallied up. I missed 50 shows while I was gone. So on an average year, I would do 250 shows a year on average. Wow. So effectively, I missed about a show a week. And not once ever did anyone at Guarantee, Flynn Foster, Gordy, Rush, Charles, anybody, not once did anybody tell me, we need to take a look at this. They said, do what you have to do. We got it. Take care of your family. It'll always be family first. Why do I love the Foster family? Why do I love Guarantee? Why do I love working for those people? Why have I been so committed to that place when I know I'm good at what I do, and I know I have opportunities, and I could leave and do my own thing today and do it wildly successfully. That's not meaning braggadocious. Just like I have the skill set to do it, and in a digital age, it would allow me to do it. I don't want to. I work with and for great people. I love walking through the door every day. I'm excited to sit at the microphone every day. If the day comes when I'm not fired up to sit at the microphone, if the day comes where I walk in the door and I go, got to do this show today, that's the time when the passion no longer is there and you walk away. But I'm not even close to that. But, this is a long answer to your question. I'm not even sure if I'm answering it.
No, I love it, man.
But it's to say, my family's here, my wife's family's here. My son has so much support. We have so much support for my son here. His amazing therapist at Abilities, Margaret Reed, is a wonderful therapist at Abilities, where Drew has gone since literally the week he came home from the hospital. And he was so compromised early that Margaret would come to our house. She'd be masked, gloved, and she would do therapy with him in home for a year, until he was physically able to go to Abilities. And he's gone and those are his people. St. Lillian Academy, where he's a student at St. Lillian. Like, my plea would be to anyone watching this, if you're looking for an amazing organization to support, please support St. Lillian Academy.
Absolutely.
It's a special needs, it's a special needs school that's been around for more than a decade now. And it is an amazing resource for families like ours. If I hit the Powerball Mega Millions, I would endow that school forever so any kid could go for free, because like it gives families like ours who have those challenges and those struggles hope that their children can reach the best version of themselves, whatever that looks like for every kid individually. And it's an amazing gift that place is. I mean, why do I stay in Baton Rouge? All of these reasons. Like, if someone wanted to get, like, I joked with Peter, you were talking about the interview with Peter. So what am I going to do? Get fired up every day to go talk about the Atlanta Hawks? I mean, but I've had interest from Atlanta and Houston and other places, and some opportunities, some offers, and like, I love LSU. I love the New Orleans Saints. Sundays for me as a kid were church, Shoney's breakfast buffet, in the Dome. Like, you think I want to go talk about any other team? I don't want to go talk about any other team. Right. I love talking about the teams I get to talk about every day. One of the things I learned from Ed Buggs, one of his isms, he said, passion drives the medium in talk radio. If you're not passionate about it, how can you expect your audience to be passionate about it? So I've always remembered that and kept that at a core. I'm going to talk about things that I'm passionate about, because if I don't care, how can I expect my audience to care? Yeah. So I care about the things I talk about. I care about the place I live. I care about my family, my wife's family, my son, the place he goes to school, the amazing people that have helped us, hopefully representing this community in a positive way. All the many, many businesses that have trusted me to endorse them on my show. I care very deeply about those relationships I've built over 15 years.
That's where my head was going to next, honestly. It was like our mutual good friend Blaisha.
Yeah,
Decision Critical.
Amazing.
I mean, Parrish. We could go on, and I do want to get to Parrish, and we'll start talking about that.
Let me brag on Blaisha for a minute.
Please,
so Blaisha
it's amazing.
from Decision Critical was a CV nurse. Mm-hmm. So when we came home with our son, and he would have cardiology appointments, Blaisha was a CV nurse, and that's how I met her. And when we would go, I can't tell you the peace of mind Blaisha gave my wife, Erica, for the care she took for Drew, knowing the nuance of Drew. Like, just getting a blood pressure reading was not easy. But she had tricks and knew how to and so when Blaisha opens Decision Critical and is looking to do advertising, and I get presented, that's the easiest yes I could imagine in the world. Let me do whatever I can to help your business. And we're an ad-based model. I'm allergic to paywalls, by the way.
Sure.
I know ads sometimes annoy people, but the way I've always viewed it is it has to be a symbiotic relationship where you choose good businesses to partner with. We're sitting here in Gordon's studio.
Right.
Gordon's an amazing community partner.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, what an amazing human being who's built a gigantic business and in so many ways gives back to this community. You know how easy it is for me every day on air to endorse Gordon McKernan? Not only the law firm, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys, but Gordon McKernan, the person. Blaisha Rivette, Brandon Holly with Relief Windows,
Absolutely.
Kelly
Brandon's great.
Spencer from South Point Volkswagen, Darren James. I'll tell you a story about Darren James. So Darren James is a realtor I've endorsed forever. Darren's wife, her family is in Katy, Texas, just west of Houston. We're in the hospital with my son Drew, 2014. He had open heart surgery, 2 procedures within 2 weeks of each other. He had one, it just suffice to say that it was unsuccessful. They had to go back in within 2 weeks. As close as we came to losing him. And so we're in the CVICU on Thanksgiving Day, 2014. Me and Erica we had no family in Houston. Nobody knows we're there. Nurse buzzes to the bedside in the CVICU. Matt, you have a visitor. A visitor? Walk outside. It's Darren James. Darren was with his wife, Jen's family in Katy. Thanksgiving morning, he drives away from his family, drives into Houston, finds us at Texas Children in the CVICU. He brings me a gift, which was a prayer jar where it had daily devotional prayers. You open it, a little piece of paper, daily devotionals. And he didn't stay. He just said, hey, I just want to tell you I love you. Wish you a happy Thanksgiving. We're praying for you and your family. Just a couple of minutes left, drove back to his family. Like, do you know how easy it is for me to tell people when you need a realtor, call Darren James? Right. When you make good decisions about who you choose to endorse, and I have walked a lot of business for various reasons, it is so easy for me to give that genuine testimonial of these people. And I know we're naming names. I don't mean to leave people off. I could go on forever about everybody that I've ever had the chance to endorse. Teresa and Butch and the great people at Clegg's Nursery. And I could go on and on and on and on. But the point is, like, I believe the way this ecosystem works and why I've had success is I do a great show and people listen. I'm never going to charge you for my content. And I'm never going to force you to pay for something. You can have it for free. Just keep coming back. And by the way, if you need a realtor, call Darren.
Right.
If you're looking for windows, call Brendan and Holly. He's going to treat you right. And if not, okay, keep coming back. It's cool.
Yeah.
And then I know those people, River City's 1 hour air, Matt Rick, Paul Ragusa, amazing people. Like, I know when you call them, they're going to treat you amazing. And so you're going to say, oh, well, Scone's right. So the next time I endorse a product, you're going to go, oh, that I'll only use Matt's recommendations because I've had great success with them and people have been awesome. So you have this symbiotic relationship that benefits me, the advertiser, the audience, and it just keeps going round and round. We all work in tandem. And that's been an amazing thing for me. So,
and I'm not, not that you don't have that in other cities, because of course you do.
Yeah.
But I think that's something really special about Baton Rouge in particular, is the communities that are created because of genuine, real relationships.
Absolutely. I mean, I would say Baton Rouge is a big country town.
Yep.
Man, we got our flaws. Mm-hmm. We got our issues, and everybody knows what they are. But it's still home. And if you believe that a community is made up of people here are loving people. They're amazing, generous people. We see it every time there's adversity, man. There's a storm, and there's the Cajun Navy, people getting in their boats to go help people. It's just, that is a pervasive mindset in Baton Rouge and really all of our state. And that's why it's home, man. That's why it's hard for a lot of people to leave, man.
Right. That's right. And we need to talk about the good things more.
Yeah.
And embrace them and brag on them, which is what I want to do. Speaking about bragging, I want to wrap up with you soon on, tell me about, okay, you got AFR, all the podcasts. Are you still doing Whiskey and Wine without T-Bob?
Yeah.
You're still doing, you got Parrish. Give the listeners kind of a rundown of, other than AFR, where else can they find you?
People always ask me, like, do you sleep? I sleep really well. But when I'm awake, I audit my time very intentionally. So I do a lot. Every day for the last, I think we're coming on 8 years, I've done a live stream in the morning called Morning Scone. That's on my personal YouTube and Facebook. It's just a live stream where I pop on and answer people's questions. I host Locked on LSU.
Where can you find Locked on LSU? Because I'm not familiar with that one.
Anywhere you get podcasts or YouTube. It's a 30-minute daily LSU podcast or YouTube. Just think, if you took 3 hours of AFR and you condensed it into 27 minutes, that's Locked on LSU. So I record that at night to publish the next morning. So I don't really start recording that probably till about 10 o'clock at night. After Further Review is weekdays from 3 to 6. But I believe in this current day and age, like, you have to be, if you want to win, you have to be wherever your audience is in whatever format they want it. So I love radio, but I'm not romantic about radio. If you don't listen to me on radio, fine. If you want to listen to me on our app, great. If you want to watch me on YouTube, awesome. You want long form YouTube, short form videos. If you want to watch me on YouTube Shorts or Instagram, Facebook Reels or TikTok or anywhere, like, that podcast, that's my thing, is always just be wherever your audience is all the time. I can't tell you the number of times I was walking into Walgreens the other day. A guy walking out stops me and goes, "Hey, you're the Saints YouTube guy." Like, yes, I am the Saints YouTube guy. That's what I am.
I love that.
But I go speak at LSU classes and they're like, "Love your TikTok." I'm like, "Thank you." People Some people think I'm a podcaster. Some people think I'm an influencer.
Isn't
Some
that
people think I'm a
great?
YouTuber. And I'm all of it. I would tell you that I'm a radio talk show host first, but I don't care how someone consumes me as long as they consume me.
You know, that's funny you mentioned that, because that happened to me recently. They said, "You're the Baton Rouge podcaster." And I go, "Thank you so much." Really?
Yes, I am. I'm like, nailed it.
that is awesome that you think of me like that. Like that never even crossed my mind, but I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
There's I think people that struggle in the new media age are people who, look at what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
You know, are people who don't embrace this. You have longtime radio people that really struggle with putting their show on camera. Well, you're siphoning off a massive chunk of your audience. I mean, the number 2, Google's the largest search engine in the world. You know what the second largest search engine in the world is? YouTube. Really? If you're not on YouTube, you're missing the opportunity at a massive audience. There's younger people who say, I'm not on Facebook. Do you know what social media platform has more daily users than any other social media platform? Facebook. So if you're 30 and you think Facebook is just your grandma yelling about politics, it is that, but there's a billion people in the world a day that use Facebook. If you're not there, you're choosing not to even give people an opportunity to be exposed to your content. So be everywhere all the time.
I love it. Listen to all you youngsters out there listening.
Oh, I got advice.
Yeah,
I got advice for young people.
Man, it's been a pleasure. And I always in these podcasts, kind of two little questions I ask everybody, and you've kind of answered it a little bit. But Matt Moscona, what does it feel like to be a Baton Rougean?
I would say it feels like home, and that is I know that is sort of an intangible, but I know I was born in New Orleans and I have great love for New Orleans. My whole family is from New Orleans. I have deep roots there. I've spent almost my whole life in Baton Rouge, and I can't imagine ever calling anywhere else home. Mm-hmm. So it may not be the best answer, but if you were to describe home as a feeling, I would say that's Baton Rouge.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And finally, who do you want to pass the baton to?
The Rouge Baton?
The Rouge Baton.
Hey, Ryan Terrio, you're next, chump.
Terrio, I love it. I'm
You need to
coming
get him
for
on
you,
here, man.
All right, Ryan, I'm gonna reach out to you soon.
He's a great friend. Of course, many people know he played baseball at LSU, but Ryan and my wife went to elementary school together.
I did not know.
So when my wife and I were dating, Ryan was still playing Major League Baseball, and she thought she was helping me book my show. She's like, hey, do you want to, would you ever want to talk to Ryan Terrio? It's like, I know him. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, you know, whatever. And he was in town in the off season, and they saw each other at the gym, and sure enough, she knew Ryan. So
now you have the Riot Radio Hour, right?
She connected us, and that's how all that happened. And then obviously we become, you know, amazing friends, and one of my dearest friends in life, and business partners with Parish Construction and Roofing, and a lot of other stuff that we do. But I was literally at his house with my son last night. Drew loves Ryan. 8 o'clock last night, we were over at the Terrios, just popping in and seeing the kids and the dogs and all that sort of stuff. So he's an amazing asset to Baton Rouge that many people may not know. From the many different business endeavors, charitable works he does, he would be a great guest on the show.
All right, Ryan, I'm coming for you. Matt Moscona, man, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on Alligator Shoes and just giving us a peek of what you're all about, other than the obvious LSU football stuff, which we didn't even mention today, and I'm glad to say that.
If you want to hear me talk about LSU football, as I just said, there's a lot of places
Right.
that you can hear me talk about LSU football.
Right. So, but thank you. I
My
appreciate
pleasure.
your time.
Thanks for the
So,
invite.
thank you all again for watching and listening to Alligator Shoes. I'm your host, Michael Hackett. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
I like crawfish, I like rice, and I like girls that treat you nice. Hey, I'm gonna find me one in Baton